Our story starts after the defeat of United States and NATO in the First Gulf War. Treaty of Tehran, a humiliating peace treaty for NATO and West which decreases the power, influence and everything in Middle East. For this you need to watch the Part 1 Rise of Iran. Seeing the success of Iran, Russia plans to regain all the post-Soviet territories of Russia. There is a small story before going into the context. Please subscribe our channel for best content we give. Also express your idea for the next video. Okay, where were we? In 1991, after the dissolution of Soviet Union, Russia became the largest state and successor of post-Soviet Union, and its first president Boris Yeltsin don't have an idea how to rule the state, but he is an alcoholic and bit of lazy person. In 1994 a new person comes into the politics. He is none other than Vladimir Putin. Putin slightly rose into the power. By 1998 he became the right hand of Yeltsin. In January 1998, after the attack of Chechen separatist group on Moscow, Putin uses it to gain sympathy in the public and to restore the law and order and the security of the state. Slightly in March 1998 presidential elections happen all over Russia and Putin wins it with a 56% of vote share of the public. Then Putin proceeds towards his promise. By June of 1998 whole of Chechen separatists are killed and their group is destroyed using rapid military operations and faster intelligence network. After it, Putin keenly observes the break of American and European will in the First Gulf War. Then he might think this is the time to modernize and prepare for a future plans of invasions. Oil and gas prices jump earlier instead of mid-2000s, giving Moscow much needed revenue. Putin directs emergency reforms, focusing only on air force and land forces, ignoring navy. Putin launches new army reform, purging corrupt generals and pushing professionalization. Implements contract soldiers contractniki, reducing reliance on poorly trained conscripts. Funding goes into refurbishing Soviet-era tanks T-72, T-80, and armored vehicles. Air Force receives upgrades to existing Su-27 and MiG-29 fighters, radar, avionics, precision weapons. Russian forces crush insurgents faster and with fewer losses. Putin gains huge domestic legitimacy. Russia projects much greater power in the post-Soviet space, Georgia, Ukraine, Central Asia earlier. NATO sees this and starts treating Russia as a serious military threat by 2000. U.S. dominance after Gulf War is challenged. Russia can at least contest NATO air operations in its sphere. Along with military modernization, he also introduces economic reforms in all sectors of the state. 2001 Invasion of Ukraine. Russian army launches a campaign in Ukraine. With weak leadership in Kyiv and an underfunded military, Ukraine collapses faster. The presence of Russian military already in Crimea, it is easy to take the southern Ukraine. On February 14, 2001 Russian army marches into Ukraine. Crimea to Kherson, Kursk to Sumy and Belgorod to Kharkiv. Firstly ours Air Force take up the skies into control. Later army and tanks enter the cities. Missiles also hit at residential places. Due to the issues of Orange Revolution, the Ukraine is already in crisis and protest erupted over Ukraine. Due to the incumbent President Leonid Kuchma and other leaders. With failed military in the north and eastern Ukraine, the Russian army moves fastly with perceived directional standards. That is why Ukraine can't even defend itself. Many of the former Soviet Union commanders switch sides for better positions after annexation within 3 days. Dnipro and within 1 week whole of Kiev surrenders swiftly. Western side of Ukraine is also taken into control. Now NATO sees Russia has a threat to European sovereignties. Western countries protests, does not intervene directly. With the same momentum after annexing Ukraine, Moldova, it is the next plan of Putin is in Moldova. Transnistria serves as staging ground. The Russian army sweeps in, protecting Russian minorities. Russian army fastly secures the capital of Moldova. Shift towards Caucasus. The 3 countries in the Caucasus are Georgia, Armenia and Azerbaijan. Republics are annexed without much fight, they surrender. Establishing puppets. Lukashenko is established as a puppet in Belarus, finally becomes a protectorate, and then the Russia's attention comes towards the largest area which it controlled before, Central Asia. Almost in all the former Central Asian republics puppets are established: Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Tajikistan. Now Russia controls all former Soviet Central Asia borders militarily and economically. They are same like Belarus protectorates. Putin's last aim is the Baltic states. From Kaliningrad and Belarus, Russia invades Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. These 3 weak nations, for within 3 days of December 2001 all of the former Soviet republics came under control of Russia and Putin. Putin's next gamble is to fracture NATO and drag Eastern Europe towards Russia. Favorable governments are funded in Poland and Hungary. Later they withdraw from NATO. April 2002 Romania, Bulgaria, Slovakia cancel accession talks. Western Europe loses faith in NATO. Germany and France push for diplomacy with Moscow instead of confrontation. The US is distracted by its war on terror buildup post 9/11 still happens in this timeline. Chooses not to fight Russia. June 12, 2002 the Russian Republic is declared. On the symbolic Russia Day, Vladimir Putin announces the transformation of all occupied and annexed territories into a single, unitary state, the Russian Republic. Structure of the new state. Unitary government, no federal subjects, no regional autonomy. All former republics Ukraine, Baltics, Caucasus, Moldova are absorbed as provinces directly ruled from Moscow. Single-party system, the United Russia Party, becomes the sole legal political organization. Opposition is outlawed. Centralized power, regional parliaments abolished, governors replaced by Kremlin-appointed administrators. Mass Russification, policies enforced to erase local identities in Baltics, Ukraine, and Caucasus, education, language, and culture brought under Russian control. The new state comprises of Russia, Ukraine, Caucasus and Baltics as single country and protectorates and client states not formally integrated, or Belarus and Central Asian republics in which Russian military is present for security and later integration. In short, on June 12, 2002, Putin doesn't just rebuild the USSR, he goes further, abolishing the federal system and creating a hyper-centralized, unitary authoritarian empire, the Russian Republic. And by July all Eastern Europe countries make pacts and alliances with New Russia.